afternoon, everyone. Guys, so much has been happening in the last, I want to say 24 hours, but it's probably like 12 hours, 18 hours. So Russia started striking Ukraine again. They've just done a huge strike this morning on basically on Ukraine. Poland and Ukraine have now come to some sort of bilateral security deal, and we'll talk about that. We've also got Ukrainians, I think, in the last 24 hours, basically striking again deep inside Russia, 300 kilometers inside Russia. I'm going to tell you what that means on the surface, and I'm going to tell you what I think it actually means with a little bit of speculation. All the time as well, you've got the British, the brand new British Defence Minister visiting Ukraine. Guys, all these things are, the mainstream are reporting one thing, but I'm going to tell you what they're not reporting. I'm going to give you a little bit of speculation so you guys know where these things are going to lead. Guys, there's a lot happening here, so let's just continue. So first of all then, guys, not the main thing, but I think the best place to start is with the British Defence Minister, the new British Defence Minister, John Healey, visiting Ukraine. He's in Ukraine right now. He got into Ukraine 48 hours after he was elected. Now, for those of you who know how the difficulties with getting into Ukraine, you'll know that this trip must have been pre-planned long before this election was even, before this election was won. What's also significant, and I don't think anybody's picked up on this yet, but the significance of sending the defence minister and not David Lammy, who is the foreign secretary, kind of says a lot about, first of all, about the trust that the government have in David Lammy and the message that they want to send, that Britain wants to send on a global stage about Ukraine. Guys, to get to Ukraine, it takes about 2 days from where John Healey lives. First of all, he's got to go to an airport. Now, I don't think he'll get a private plane. I think he'd be on a charter flight. So, not a charter flight, sorry, a commercial flight. He would fly into Krakow. Then from Krakow, he can either drive or he can go on the train. I would speculate that he would have been driven from Krakow through the border into Ukraine. This whole journey with checkpoints, with with all the controls, it takes about 48 hours to do this journey. So that means that this must have already been pre-planned, before this election. So he literally must have won the election, got on a plane and gone. Sends a very big message to the world on Britain's intent on this, this whole conflict. Now, you've also got in the last 24 hours, Kyiv striking Ukraine striking a huge, and I'll put all the links to this in the description, guys. You've got Kyiv striking a huge ammo dump, 300 kilometers inside mainland Russia. What I've said for the longest time is these strikes could be carried out with NATO weapons, with NATO munitions, and then the Ukrainians afterwards, they just use a load of drones to litter the area with smaller drones, so it becomes very difficult to understand what kind of weapon system was used. But again, we've got to take this from the Russian side. The Russians are seeing this. For them, I don't think it really matters what the Ukrainians are using, whether it's Western weapons or whether it's, their own drones. But they're now having strikes well inside their territory. So guys, when people are thinking that these things are de-escalating and Donald Trump's talking about a peace talk, guys, none of that's happening, as you can see from this. So it's also come out in the last 24 hours as well that Poland and Ukraine have come to a weapons deal. Now, again, guys, I keep saying it, and those of you who've been watching this channel and certainly our other channel, we've got this divergence. If you think about this divergence, what I keep saying, the United States going one way and Britain going the other, and Britain will lead NATO in Eastern Europe. That's kind of what we're seeing. So you've got all the rhetoric from Donald Trump saying, oh, we're going to stop this war overnight, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. And at the same time, you've got the brand new British Defence Minister, literally as soon as he won that election, he was out there in Kyiv talking to Zelensky. So you've got a huge contrasting, and guys, I said this back in December, because all the steps now are leading towards this. So let me just read quickly from Politico. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a bilateral security agreement with Poland in Warsaw on Monday. So literally, guys, today, aimed at strengthening ties with one of the country's closest wartime allies. Poland has already provided 44 military aid packages to Ukraine worth €4 billion and has pledged to provide several more this year and into the next decade. Only together can Ukraine and Poland be free and strong. This is the sole way we can defend ourselves against Russian terror and protect our freedom and independence, Zelensky and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said in a joint statement. So guys, keep that in context and keep that at the back of your mind as we move on with this video. But also think about that in the context of America. Guys, it's not going to matter if Donald Trump pulls all his funding from Ukraine. There's still going to be enough support in Europe, to support the Ukrainians. Why is this going to happen? Because the United States, as I've said before, and as I read an article, the United States does not want to break its spear in Ukraine when there could be potential threats with China and Iran. And that's the reality. Now, what you've got to look at the military-industrial complex and, and how they're making their money, because the US is a huge exporter of weapons. Now, they're not going to lay off this unless they think something's coming. So this is just me speculating, guys, all right? I don't want anybody, saying it's misinformation. It's just me speculating. I'm speculating behind closed doors in America. Whoever's in the administration have said to Lockheed, to Boeing, whoever makes all these systems, guys, listen, we're going to lay off Ukraine, but don't worry, the bigger fish is yet to be fried. So then we've got this recent attack this morning, guys, in Ukraine, a huge attack all over the country. Now, what we need to do is we need to keep remembering the thing about Poland. So, Russia bombs children's hospital. I'll just read again from the article, guys, and then I'll elaborate and speculate a little bit. Kyiv, Russian President Vladimir Putin's forces struck a children's hospital in Kyiv as at least 20 people were killed Monday morning during a large missile assault on the Ukrainian capital. Guys, this is all happening in the last 12 hours. Russian terrorists again massively attacked Ukraine with missiles. Different cities were targeted. Kyiv, Dnipro, Kyiv, Sloviansk, Kramatorsk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a statement. More than 40 missiles of different types, residential buildings, infrastructure and a children's hospital were damaged. The barrage largely destroyed a newly constructed ward of, guys, there's a word I'm not even going to try and pronounce here, but it's, I'm assuming, one of the oldest children's hospitals in Kyiv. Putin's military is continuing a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, which it launched back in February 2022. So look at the timings, guys. You've got the British Defence Minister out there at this time. So he's going to see this. He's probably going to go to that school because, it's in close proximity to the President's building. He's probably going to go out there. He's going to visit this, and all these, alliances are going to be made and cemented because of this attack. Now, in that region as well, what nobody's talking about on mainstream media, there's a lot of military buildings around that region. In particular, there's the Ukrainian Air Force officers. Now, it's just speculation, but I would like to think that the Russians were targeting the Air Force officers and not a children's hospital. But guys, I genuinely don't know what they were targeting, but that's the reality of the situation. Now, for those of you who've been watching this channel, I'm positive that these F-16s are never going to be flown from Ukraine. And if you see now, you can see that the Russians are really targeting. They're targeting the Ukrainian Air Force. They're targeting the Ukrainian Air Force logistics hubs, the runways, the officers, as we've seen. So what was in this security deal with Poland that was signed today? This is me speculating, guys. Was there something in that bilateral agreement, the bilateral security agreement, that said, guys, we will fly your F-16s. Your F-16s can be flown from our country. Your F-16s can do this. We will, guys, that's where I feel this is going. And, you know, nobody else is talking about this in the media. But, guys, the next thing to watch is these F-16s flying. Guys, that's just my opinion and a little bit of speculation. I've put the links in the bio, and I'm going to max the grid.